Welcome, welcome, welcome again to the second part of our Blitzmarmelade special interview with Patrick, the facilitator who is a TikToker and talks about how to make meetings better. It is with our CEO, Marcus.
Hi.
And with Patrick, our dear guest today. Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
And with me, Alex. Hi. So, back again at Blitzmarmelade, the Bordel podcast. We talked about fascinating things and how your audience is in the last edition. But now, why do meetings suck?
I think there are maybe three major issues with meeting, and two of them are pretty obvious. So the first is people are coming late to the meeting or leaving early. So this is already an interesting part of collaborative culture from my point of view. The second issue is participation. So often there are people like participating in meetings that don't need to be there, or they don't contribute to the final result. There's a study in Germany that I think 80% of the workforce working in offices in Germany is on a regular basis participating in meetings in which they don't contribute. I mean, just imagine the productiveness of that. And the third is, it's not like people are missing the skill. So what happens, and the symptom is that we run into endless discussions. Like we try to solve problems by, hey, this is the problem we are facing. What do you think? How can we solve it? And that's not a well-prepared meeting. And I think this is the issue, that people are not well educated, that don't bring the skill set to the table to run meetings compared to how we learn to build PowerPoint slides and Excel sheets. So this is really a lacking skill set compared to that.
Marcus, go ahead.
Let's start with the first point, because I mean, that is already, I mean, it's a well-known and old topic, but interestingly, it did never change. I once heard the story of a guy that said, well, I started bringing myself a book to the meeting, and then when people are coming late, I'm sitting there and reading and making it really obvious for them that they are just stealing my time, which I found really extraordinary example, but it really shows that this is really deep and widespread in the culture, being late. What would you recommend doing?
Just start on time. Just don't give a S.
That's I like
to
that.
Be honest, yeah.
One point, I think this is so. I think you tackle on a very important point with this starting on time and ending at the end, really. And I think it is about power structures. I think so. You say just start with the meeting, and then the person that can decide things is not there, because the person comes 5 minutes late because he has the power to come late, and then everything is like that. It's a sign of power to let people wait. But maybe you can give us 2 to 3 nice tips, what you've learned so far, to make meetings better.
I think first of all, and the most important is, we can be the one who changes things. So it always starts with us. I think it's totally unnecessary to wait for a manager to say, I want you to run better meetings. Then we can wait until the end of our careers. But if we educate ourselves, and education in that regard means, I don't know, reading, 15 pages of a book, and you will already be, I guess, 50% better than everybody else in that regard. So you can start, you can be the first one to move there. The second one is, if you are scheduling a meeting, be aware of the fact that you consume the time of others. So what does that mean? Think about, what is the end result I want to achieve, and what is the meeting type I need for that? Because we are always referring to meeting as if it's only one kind that exists. but there are different things like a design sprint, like workshops. There's a kind of decision session. There's a brainstorming. So call it out. If you're inviting people, tell them what is going to happen. What are you inviting them for? Then make sure that the goal is as precise as possible. Build the agenda around that. So what are you trying to do in what steps, and how much time do you need for each step? And once you start the meeting, make sure everybody in the room understands the tasks. Like, hi, thank you for coming. The purpose of the meeting is X. I want you to participate so that we can move on from section to section to section to walk out of this meeting in 30 minutes with the result Y. I think that's just reasonable, and that's what we do in every little or bigger project on a larger scale, but we don't do in the 30-minute meetings we have in our Google calendars. And then in the end, I think most important is wrapping the meeting up, making sure that everybody leaves with the next steps assigned if necessary, and when to be delivered. And I think if you consider those steps as like mandatory for your meeting culture or your company culture, I think you're already like you're already pretty far in front from
ahead of the curve.
Companies. Yeah, you're ahead of the curve basically. And one final thing that's super important, and there were several tips now in it, so sorry for being that fast, but one thing that really changed the game for me, since I'm not a visual guy in terms of I can't really draw, but visualize it. It helps so much to visualize things. So whenever anyone comes up with an idea, if stupid or not, ask him to visualize it on a whiteboard. And if it's stupid, you realize it early on. And if it's good, you're already understanding it better just from seeing the visualization compared to just listening to sentence after sentence after sentence.
What I find really shocking, I mean, what you're giving here as tip is, from my point of view, should be common sense. The real shocking thing about it is really people don't act according to common sense then, when they don't stick to basic things like asking, why do we meet? I mean, that should be so basic. Or keeping really track of the time. All these things are basics. And that reminds me a bit, we talked in the previous discussion about, for example, strategize. And I think it was them saying, well, culture is actually what you allow the people to do. And therefore, I get that point that you say, well, educate the people, and it starts with you, that you start, every individual starts changing the culture. I think that's a very important point here.
Yeah, and interestingly, picking that thought up, I just today run into a movie. It's called Meeting Bloody Meetings from 1976. Okay. And it's a 30-minute short film about how someone working in corporate gets home after work and in bed is doing the actual work. And his wife asks him, like, why are you doing the work in bed? And he's like, yeah, I was like in meetings all over the place the whole day. And then he talks about what's the issue with meetings and how it should be. So obviously, I was in offices in 1976, but it's basically, they're the same problems still. And I mean, imagine what changed since then until now. But the way we collaborate in the same room or even virtually didn't change. It's ridiculous if you think about that.
Alex, you heard the time timer?
No, but I heard you. And this was the second part of our Blitzmarmelade special with our fantastic guest and TikToker, Patrick.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And with our CEO, Marcus.
Bye.
And now you know how to make better meetings, and follow Patrick for even more advice. Bye.